Welcome to the kingdom. I'm Chris, and this is Good Enough Gaming. Well, howdy folks, and welcome to this video, which is a bit of a follow-up to the previous video I did about the future of Grimdark. That video turned out to be the most popular video I have ever had on the channel, and I got so many comments I could not reply to them all. My apologies to you who posted something and I never got back to you. There were over 600 comments, I think, when I last checked. That's a lot. So big thanks to all of you, even if you only had to criticize. I'm grateful for the interaction anyways. What it did show to me was that video touched on a topic that was near and dear to tabletop gamers all over the world. So I was really fascinated by that, really pleased with that, and thanks to everyone who watched and who commented, even if you had criticisms to offer. Now, just days after posting that video, I found another article on Forbes which touches on one of the elements I mentioned in that video about Grimdark. It's tangential, but it's still related. Now, during that initial video, I made the assertion that Games Workshop is sacrificing Grimdark in some areas of the game and the hobby in order to make it more palatable to more people and more audiences, or to put it in a shorter and more negative light, they're selling out. They're sacrificing the thing that makes 40K 40K, and they're doing it specifically to increase revenues, profits, stock prices, so on and so forth. This new article reveals that GW has succeeded beyond, maybe not necessarily its wildest dreams, but it has definitely succeeded beyond what they may have thought possible. As of just a few weeks ago, Games Workshop is now among the top 100 companies on the London Stock Exchange. Its stock has grown 43% just in the recent year, and check this out. The stock has grown 2,500% in the past decade. I'm gonna read that again and put the number up just so that it's clear that this isn't a typo or a misreading on my part. 2,500%. By entering into the top 100 companies on the London Stock Exchange, Games Workshop is now officially blue chip stock, with a total company value of almost $6 billion, 535 stores worldwide. In terms of revenue, the US is the largest share of GW's market, and, if I'm reading the article correctly, a big chunk, almost a third, of the revenue coming in is from licensed products. Now, I'm not a financial analyst, and I'll put a link to the article below for those of you who are more business-minded and want to peruse it in detail. But let's take a look at what else the article has to say, and then I'll throw in my 2 bits. According to this article, profits at Games Workshop have been growing at an absolutely insane rate, rising 25% in the last 6 months, and about a third of those profits, as I said, coming from licensing revenue. So that's things like video games, third-party merchandise, not directly the sale of GW models, books, paints, that kind of thing. The article goes on to credit the players for a lot of this success. Pay attention, Games Workshop. Forbes gets it. The customers are where you make your money, so listen to them. The article also points out that the lockdowns back in 2020 were an absolute godsend by forcing people to stay at home. And what better hobby for being under house arrest than building, painting, and reading in the 40K universe? Now, if I put my tinfoil hat on and make it really big, I'd almost wonder if Games Workshop was holding hands in the dark with companies like Pfizer. Now, they're not, but I'm curious what kind of comments that little statement is going to generate. Now, the article also points out that GW is overpriced. Well, I mean, they don't say that outright. Instead, they state that, quote, the game doesn't come cheap, with a pack of 3 Space Marines retailing from $35. So yeah, the price per model for Games Workshop is approaching or passing double digits. And the codexes that were $20 when I started playing are now $60. And the only difference is that they're hardback and in color. The article also points out that Games Workshop's deal with Amazon hasn't been finalized and that both sides are still able to withdraw from the deal with no penalties. But the day after I wrote the first draft of this video, Games Workshop and Amazon announced that they have reached an agreement And Henry Cavill posted on Instagram to celebrate it, so he is still very much a part of it. Clearly, the videos suggesting that Cavill was considering exiting the deal were highly exaggerated. So in a few years' time, we will start to see 40K stuff on Amazon. But let's hope that they don't do to 40K what they did to the Rings of Power. I'm not holding my breath. So getting back to the point I made in that previous video, Games Workshop decided it wanted to go mainstream, and it's expanding its business practices as well as making changes to the 40K universe itself in order to achieve that goal. Now, as I've said time and time again, I am always in favor of trying to get more people into any tabletop wargaming hobby. How nice would it be if there were enough players that we saw more friendly local gaming stores popping up all over the place? I live in a mid-sized city and there are only 3 gaming stores, one of which is the official Warhammer store. The problem with only a few stores is that it potentially restricts gaming communities. If you want to play game ABC, but there's only one store in town and most of the players there play game XYZ, you either have to start playing with that game or just stick to the hobby side. So more people in the hobby is usually a good thing. However, if you have a pitcher with lemonade that has enough for 10 people, but you add an extra cup or 2 of water to it, and now you can pour 15 glasses, yeah, you're serving more people. But while the new 5 don't know that the lemonade is watered down and will probably go along with it, the other 10 will be thinking to themselves, what the heck is this? This isn't what I asked for, this isn't what I'm used to. I don't think it's worth it to sacrifice what made your game a hit just so that you can sell it to more people. If I was talking about a rock band, the phrase would be going corporate. But since we're talking about a corporation, that obviously doesn't work. Still, you get the idea. As for now, GW has achieved 2,500% increase in stock value in just a decade. So part of that is due to natural growth. New players join, current players get older, have kids, and introduce them to the game, stuff like that. You also have super popular licensing, like the Space Marine and Dawn of War video games, both of which were excellent and not only made tons of money, but brought lots of people into the 40K universe. Both of these I applaud as good reasons, and I hope they continue to be the source of growth for Games Workshop. But those are certainly not enough to explain 2,000% growth. There have not been that many new players in the game, even counting the COVID lockdowns. A good part of that profit growth comes from the systematic price increases, the absolutely insane profit margin, and, of course, the fact that the lockdowns handed them a captive audience. And I mean that literally. So the new question is, where do things go from here? Well, if the new heads of Games Workshop made all of these changes in order to make the business soar, and business is now soaring, I don't see them changing direction anytime soon. If their goal was to increase profits, to make the company mainstream, and they're doing that, we're going to see them continue on exactly as they're going. So it means more of the good, but it also means more of the bad. So if you're totally happy with what Games Workshop has been doing for the last 10 years, you can expect more of it in the next 10. And if you're not happy with what they've been doing in the last 10 years, you can still expect more of it. Games Workshop's a company. Companies seek profits. And if a decision, especially a controversial one, brings in more revenue and customers than it drives out, you can be sure there will be more decisions made just like that. Take that however you will. So I'm curious now, what do you all think? To what degree is this a cause for celebration that a beloved hobby and game is blasting off? And to what degree is it a cause for mourning that GW might be going the way that other games and other IP are, where decisions are made based on bottom lines by people who've probably never touched a miniature in their entire lives? Let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time, keep your dice on the table.